On November 9th, 2024, Patricia Mahoney drove around a barricade that was blocking traffic from a 100-foot drop-off caused by eroding roadways from Hurricane Helene in Southern Pines, North Carolina. She survived the initial impact, but sadly later died at the hospital. Officials were baffled as to why she ignored the warnings, as there was no signs of intoxication or vehicle malfunctions. Ben Hamper, a third-generation GM worker, spent years on the assembly line in Flint, Michigan. By the 1980s, he saw the writing on the wall. His employer was cutting jobs, automating lines, and considering placing factories abroad. In 1991, he published the book Rivethead, Tales from the Assembly Line, partly warning of what was to come if the city continued down that path. Of course, Flint went from a booming American stronghold to a broken, unemployed, crime-infested shell of its former self. In the late 5th century, Lucius Vorenus, a veteran of the Roman military who had once bled on the battlefield for the empire, now saw his nation drunk on lead-infused wine and a false sense of safety. The veteran warned that the empire, while vast, was not immune to the barbarian forces eyeing the gates. Senators were corrupt, slaves outnumbered citizens, and the currency value was low before the fall. Whether we're talking about our own personal worlds, the fate of a Midwestern auto town, or a global empire, most of us operate under normalcy biases, believing that everything's going to be fine, and warnings should be taken with a grain of salt. Is that what killed Patricia Mahoney, the auto towns, and the Roman Empire? How about now? Between solar flares, pole shifting, climate change, nuclear threats, and now low birth rates, is our entire world coming to an end, but our normalcy bias fogs the warning signs? Or is this all the same old Armageddon alarmism that's always existed? Thanks for stopping by NPC Overrider, where we challenge mainstream source code to develop independent thought, one user story at a time. Let's hop in our Mad Max dude buggy and check out the latest programming. Alright, let's kick this one off with the mainstream argument that says, no, the world is not ending.
Talk about the world is going to end. The world is not ending. How many times have we gone through that in the last 15, 20 years? It was supposed to end in 2000, from switching from 1999 to 2000. But, was like Prince, partying like it's 1999, baby. No, I wasn't partying. But anyway, remember, what was it, that computer glitch that was supposed to happen? Like, they were talking about planes were going to fall out the air and all kinds of shit around the year 2000. It's crazy stuff. And then there came, 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar. The world's supposed to end at the Mayan calendar. I mean, boy, Christian people were playing that one up big time, What the hell are they looking at a Mayan calendar for? Why are they even worried about astrology and all that stuff, So Jesus' scripture says, I'll be with you till the end of the world.
Supporting point number 5, advanced innovation. Birth rates might be on the decline, but that's no reason to panic. For example, Japan is tackling its aging population with AI and robots for automation and efficiency. They're currently testing AirRec, a bot designed for elderly care that can assist with rolling patients over, sitting them up, and may even soon scramble eggs and fold laundry. With fewer nurses available to make rounds, medical staff have tested sleep and bed sensors to enable nurses to monitor patients from a central location remotely. Why worry about breeding help when we can build it? Point number 4, climate solutions. Renewable energy adoption grew by 2.2% in 2024, driven by solar, wind, and hydro technologies, as well as the influx of electric vehicles. Carbon capture technology, designed to filter carbon, will continue to advance, and lab-grown food will further address emissions and scarcity. These innovations mitigate climate impacts, enabling societies to thrive even with smaller populations and rising temperatures. Point number 3, solar flare management. The X-27 flare on May 14, 2025 caused temporary disruptions, but NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center and ESA's Solar Orbiter provided early warnings. This allows public and private infrastructure to prepare in the event of an emergency. Advanced frameworks such as Starlink satellite redundancies protect people on Earth, even if solar flares are on the uptick. Point number 2, pole shift monitoring. The Earth's poles have shifted in the past, and they'll move again. However, this process is incredibly slow and not a reason to believe the world is ending. The sun's recent 2025 flip is part of a typical 11-year cycle and poses minimal risk to life on Earth. Experts and astronomers monitor both solar flares and magnetic activity with swarm satellites to ensure preparedness for any increased dangers. Point number 1, global preparedness and cooperation. Humans have survived plagues like the Black Death through bloodletting, leeches, and those weird bird suits. Just look at the stuff we have now. While pandemics and epidemics will always be of concern, modern medical advancements ensure humanity can adapt. Nuclear war risks are mitigated with treaties such as the START Treaty to limit nuclear arsenals between the US and Russia, and the UN's Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons includes 5 nuclear powers. To mitigate concerns about rogue asteroids, global monitoring systems like NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test mission, which involves crashing a satellite into an asteroid to redirect its path, shows promise in keeping the Earth safe from flying space garbage. Well, that all sounds comforting, but let's check out the rebuttal argument that says the world is indeed ending.
We're subject to a host of uncontrollable natural disasters that are imminent.
Yes.
They're going to happen.
Yes.
Yellowstone's going to blow, we're going to get hit by an asteroid, and we might nuke ourselves too. All that stuff is real too. So that's all on the table. And the evidence of natural disasters wiping people out and people having to start from scratch, it seems like we're a part of like this giant never-ending cycle of getting knocked back into the Stone Age and then rebuilding to a new version of complex society. I think we're on a version of that now, but I think there's been many versions of that.
Supporting point number 5, low birth rates. In 1990, women had an average of 3.3 children globally. Since then, the stat has fallen to about 2.3. More than 50% of all countries have fertility rates below 2.1, which is the level required for the world's population to maintain a continual size. Japan might turn to AI and robotics for assistance, but it stands to lose 30% of its population by 2050. Sure, they can build robots now, but there's got to be people to replace those folks to build and maintain future technology. This global depopulation trend is expected to continue destabilizing society over time. Point 4, climate change. The Earth's climate has shifted between hot and cold since its inception. Between the warm periods, the Cenozoic era, and the Quaternary ice ages, the climate will continue to shift regardless of human contributions or mitigation efforts. We're currently in the modern anthropogenic warming period, and the climate is expected to rise and may even freeze over again later. If humans are to survive, we'll become increasingly reliant on technology to live here or leave the planet. This will be really hard to do if we don't have people to replace us. Point number 3, infrastructure disruption. The X-27 solar flare on May 14th of this year caused radio blackouts across the day side of the Earth. While the impact was temporary, a rare superflare could take out grid infrastructure and satellites. We're all familiar with the rolling blackouts in California as renewable energy grids struggle to keep up with the high demand, and many blame the April 28th European blackout in Spain and Portugal on fragile renewable energy, which impacted around 55 million people. Green energy might have its perks, but can it sustain humanity at scale? Point 2, magnetic pole shifts. Pole shifts have happened before, and the world didn't end. But these days we're far too reliant on our infrastructure, internet, and power grid, which is all vulnerable to space weather. This could easily put society on its heels, as everyday tasks require GPS, refrigeration, internet access, and everything else. These pole shifts may also increase cancer rates, as harmful UV rays hit the Earth more intensely than before. With a declining population, that's not something we can afford. Point 1, geopolitical tensions. Space forecasts aside, just take a look at the increasing dangers here on Earth. Between multiple active conflicts or wars with nuclear powers, how long will it take before the nukes start flying? Nuclear weapons aside, cyber warfare targeting critical infrastructure or potential EMPs could send advanced societies back into the Stone Age as social cohesion breaks down. Interesting points on both sides of that argument, but the first question should be, how are we defining the world and the end? If we're talking about a cataclysmic deep impact style Armageddon, well, there isn't much evidence to suggest that's happening anytime soon. But if we're talking about the end of the world as we know it, we've already seen it happen several times. Our parents grew up in a world that ended, and the world we grew up in as kids has ended as well, with technological and cultural changes. But as for human survival, while pole shifts and solar flares are certainly a concern, they don't appear to be the most imminent threat. But depopulation continues to pop up on both sides of these arguments and severely impacts humans' long-term survival. Elites say there's too many people on Earth and too many cow farts that are intensifying climate change. But how are we supposed to maintain our complex and constantly evolving society if we don't have enough people to support it in the future? With increased international tensions, lost culture through globalization, multiple wars and conflicts, and World War III constantly bubbling up in the news and social media, there is greater cause for concern here on Earth. Humans used to battle with swords, arrows, and then planes, but today we can obliterate each other over a land dispute if a hangry world leader gets butthurt over a Trump tweet. Whether the nukes start flying, we take down each other's infrastructure, or simply run out of people, our biggest threat doesn't seem to be coming from rogue asteroids or wild space weather. It's coming from us. Well, that's going to do it for this version of NPC Overrider. I'm your lead engineer, Greg. Thanks for stopping by. What do you think? Are we staring down the barrel of a 45 right now? If you want to help me save the NPCs, please set the like button to true and open a ticket in the comments section if you have an idea for a future release. But for now, it's about Beer 30. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.